Polite on the outside, empty on the inside. Her eyes slowly moved over me, from my Target clearance sweater to my worn-out flats, then to the baby drooling on my shoulder. I could almost see the numbers running in her head as she judged my worth in less than 3 seconds. Then she said 5 words that made my blood freeze. So this is a girlfriend. Not welcome to our home. Not nice to finally meet you. Just that. She said it like I was a bad choice. Like I was a cheap starter at an expensive restaurant. Like I was something her son had picked up off the street and dragged inside. But here's what Patricia Whitmore didn't know. Here's what no one sitting at that dinner table knew. The broke single mom standing in her spotless entryway, wearing old yoga pants from 2015. She makes $17,500 a month. The woman Patricia had already labeled a gold digger. She was about to become a doctor. And this entire evening, every cold look, every quiet insult, every carefully planned act of cruelty Patricia was about to throw at me was a test. A test Patricia was failing badly. Let me go back a little. My name is Bethany Burton. I'm 32 years old. And for the past 8 months, I've been lying to the man I love. Not about my feelings. Not about my loyalty. Not about how my heart races every time he walks into a room. I've been lying about something most people would see as a good thing. I've been hiding my success. You see, I'm not actually a struggling single mother working part-time doing paperwork at a dental office. That's just a role I've been playing. The truth is, I'm a senior dental prosthodontist at Preston and Maud Dental Lab, one of the most respected labs in the city. I'm the one who makes the crowns, veneers, bridges, and dentures at dentists place in their patients' mouths. It's precision work, real artistry, the kind that takes years to master, and that most people never even think about. When a dentist in the city needs something flawless, and I mean perfect down to the micrometer, they ask for me by name. I spent 8 years building that reputation. Doctors literally argue over whose case I'll take first. I'm also 4 months away from finishing dental school. It's a part-time evening program I've been pushing through for 2.5 years while working full-time. Soon, I'll be Dr. Bethany Burton. My salary is $17,500 a month, sometimes more with bonuses. I'm the top moneymaker at the lab. My savings account has more zeros than most people will ever see in their lifetime. So why would a successful woman pretend to be broke? Why would I dress like I only shop at thrift stores, skip makeup completely, and tell my boyfriend I worry about paying rent? Because 3 years ago, a man named Bradley taught me what happens when you're honest about your success. And that lesson almost destroyed me. Bradley was my fiancé. We were together for 2 years. 2 years of dinners, movie nights, and planning our future. He was handsome, charming, and always knew the right things to say. I truly believed I'd found my person. Then one night, he asked how much I made. It sounded casual, just curiosity, or so I thought. I told him the truth. I was proud of myself. I'd worked hard to get where I was, and I expected him to be proud of me too. Instead, I watched his face change. It was small at first, a quick flicker in his eyes, his jaw tightening just a bit. He said, "Wow, that's great." But his voice had changed, flat and cold. From that moment on, nothing was ever the same. Within a week, he started picking fights over nothing. Suddenly, I was intimidating. I was emasculating. He said I made him feel like less of a man. Being with me, he claimed, felt like a competition he was always losing. A competition I didn't even know we were playing. Within a month, he was gone. 3 months later, he married a waitress named Courtney. He posted their wedding photos all over social media with the caption, "Finally found a woman who lets me be a man." I saw those photos at 2 in the morning, alone in my apartment, eating ice cream straight from a container like a walking cliché. And something inside me broke. For a full year after Bradley left, I was a ghost. I went to work. I came home. I cried. I slept. Then I did it all again. I stopped going out. I stopped answering calls. Most of my friends eventually stopped trying. I don't blame them. I wasn't exactly great company. The only person who stayed was Tiffany Russo. Tiffany and I had known each other since childhood, but we were never close. She was the party girl. I was the stay-home-and-study-all-weekend girl. We had nothing in common. But when I was drowning, Tiffany showed up at my door with cheap wine and terrible advice. She dragged me out of bed, forced me to eat something other than cereal, and reminded me that the world still existed outside my apartment walls. So when Tiffany got pregnant unexpectedly last year and had baby Rosie, I wanted to return the favor. And when Tiffany quickly realized that motherhood wasn't exactly her calling, I stepped in more and more. At first, it was a few days a week, then most days. Then somehow, it became almost full-time. I paid Tiffany $800 a month. Now she calls it reverse babysitting. She gets money and freedom to keep bartending and living her life. I get Rosie. And somewhere in that arrangement, an idea started to form. A crazy idea. Possibly unhealthy. Definitely a little manipulative. What if I used Rosie to test my next relationship? What if I presented myself as a struggling single mom, broke, overwhelmed, with nothing to offer financially, and watched how a man treated me? If he could love me when I seemed to have nothing, then maybe, just maybe, he deserved to know the real me. And if he couldn't, well, it was better to find out early than have my heart shattered again. So I perfected the look. Yoga pants with a mysterious stain I never bothered to investigate. Sweaters that had seen better days, specifically back in 2018. No makeup. Hair always in a ponytail. And the bone-deep exhaustion that comes from actually caring for a 10-month-old baby. I called it exhausted chic. Very convincing. Tiffany's parenting style, by the way, was creative. When I first started watching Rosie full-time, I once found her happily chewing on a pickle. Another time, it was a piece of beef jerky. Once, I'm fairly sure it was pepperoni that had fallen on the floor. That child has survived things that would make a pediatric Ian faint. But she's healthy, happy, and apparently has an iron stomach. So maybe Tiffany was onto something. Probably not. But maybe. I met Graham 8 months ago at a coffee shop. I was holding Rosie, who was doing that adorable baby thing where they grab absolutely everything within reach. Graham was standing in line behind me. When Rosie knocked my coffee right out of my hand and it splashed across the floor, I wanted to disappear. I was exhausted, embarrassed, and covered in lukewarm latte. But Graham laughed, not at me, but at the situation. And then he helped me clean it up, insisted on buying me a replacement, and even asked if he could sit with us. He saw a tired single mom in cheap clothes with a fussy baby, and he stayed anyway. Over the next 8 months, Graham proved himself again and again. He never made me feel ashamed of my situation. He paid for dinners without making it awkward. He showed up with diapers and formula just because. He looked at Rosie like she was already his daughter. I told him I worked part-time doing paperwork at a dental office, filing, scheduling, nothing exciting. I told him Rosie's dad wasn't really in the picture, though he sent a little financial help sometimes. I said we were managing, but it was tight. Graham believed every word, and he loved me anyway. 3 weeks before the dinner from hell, Graham was nervous and excited in a way I had never seen. "My family wants to meet you," he said, squeezing my hand. "This is a big step. I want them to know how serious I'm about you." I should have been thrilled. Instead, I felt ice forming in my stomach. I had heard stories about Patricia Whitmore, Graham's mother, the woman who had apparently sabotaged 3 of his past relationships, the woman who believed her son deserved better than whoever he chose. I was walking into enemy territory, disguised as exactly the type of woman Patricia would despise most. My phone buzzed. A text from Tiffany. "Hey, my parents are asking about Rosie again. They want to visit next month. This is getting complicated." I stared at the message. Tiffany's parents lived in Florida. They'd been making noise about their granddaughter for months, questioning whether Tiffany was really fit to be a mother. And now they were circling, closer. The borrowed baby situation had an expiration date. I just didn't know exactly when that clock would run out. Everything was about to get very complicated. The test, the lies, the family that already hated me, and now this. I took a deep breath, picked up Rosie, and headed for the door. Whatever happened at this dinner, one thing was certain. Patricia Whitmore had no idea who she was dealing with. By the end of the night, she would find out exactly how badly she had underestimated me. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, please hit the subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. I read every single comment, and your support means the world to me. Now, back to the dinner. The Whitmore house wasn't just a house. It was a statement, a declaration of wealth that started at the iron gates and got louder with every inch of the circular driveway. By the time Graham parked and I got a good look at the three-story colonial mansion with its perfectly manicured hedges and, yes, an actual fountain, I understood exactly what kind of family I was walking into. The foyer had a chandelier bigger than my first car. Actually, bigger than my first and second cars combined. The floors were marble. The walls had real paintings in real frames, the kind you expect to see in a museum. I was afraid to breathe on anything. Graham squeezed my hand as we walked in. "They are going to love you," he said. He was lying. He had to know he was lying. But I appreciated the effort. Patricia Whitmore answered the door herself, which I later learned was unusual. She normally had help for that, but she wanted to see me first, to assess the threat before anyone else could form an opinion. "So, this is the girlfriend," she said, her eyes slowly scanning me like I mentioned before. "Sweater, flats, baby," each item judged and found wanting. "Mom," Graham said, a warning in his voice. "This is Bethany, and this is Rosie." "Charming," Patricia said, in a tone that suggested she found absolutely nothing charming about any of it. "Do come in. Try not to let the baby touch anything." The dining room was even more intimidating than the foyer. A table that could seat 16 was set for 6. Crystal glasses. China plates with gold trim. More forks than any human could possibly need. I met the rest of the family quickly. Randall Whitmore, Graham's father, was quiet but observant. He shook my hand, said, "Nice to meet you," in a way that seemed genuine, then went silent. I got the sense he saw everything, but chose not to say anything. Sloane Whitmore, Graham's 29-year-old sister, looked at me like I was an invasive species. Overdressed, overmade up, underimpressed. She called herself a lifestyle influencer with 12,000 followers, most of whom I suspected were bots. When she saw Rosie, she wrinkled her nose. "Oh, you brought the baby," she said, like you'd say, "You brought a cockroach or you brought the tax auditor." Then there was Nana June, Graham's grandmother on his father's side. 78 years old, sitting at the end of the table like a queen surveying her kingdom. She didn't say much at first, but her eyes were sharp. She watched everything, keeping score silently. Dinner began, with Patricia leading the way, an interrogation disguised as a polite conversation. "Bethany," Patricia said, "tell us about yourself. What do you do?" I had rehearsed this. I work part-time at a dental office. Mostly paperwork, filing, scheduling, that kind of thing. Patricia's lip twitched. "Part-time?" "Yes. It's hard to work full-time with a baby." She took a slow sip of wine. "And the baby's father? Is he involved?" "Not really," I said. "He helps sometimes, but is not in the picture." Patricia exchanged a look with Randall. That look said everything. Single mother, part-time job, nobody. Their son could do so much better. Sloane, never one to miss a chance to be cool, pulled out her phone right there at the dinner table. Her thumbs moved fast, and seconds later she announced a discovery to the entire room. "I can't find anything about you online, Bethany. Like, nothing. No LinkedIn. No Instagram. No Facebook. Nothing at all. It's like you don't even exist." I kept my voice calm. I'm not really a social media person. That part was true. I kept my professional life completely private. No photos. No posts. No digital trail connecting Bethany Burton, dental prosthetist, to Bethany Burton, struggling single mom. It was a deliberate choice, and now it was paying off. Sloane stared at me, suspicious. "Everyone is on social media." "Not everyone," I said. "Weird people aren't." Graham stepped in. "Sloane, that's enough." But his voice lacked conviction. He was trying to keep the peace, not protect me. There's a difference, and I felt it like a splinter under my skin. Patricia leaned toward Randall and whispered something. She thought she was being subtle. She wasn't. "A nobody," she said softly, "is throwing himself away on a nobody." I pretended I didn't hear. I cut my chicken into tiny pieces I had no intention of eating. I smiled at the right moments. I played my part. Perfectly. And then Rosie, sweet, wonderful Rosie, chose that exact moment to have a diaper emergency. I won't go into details, but let's just say it was loud, sudden, and impossible to ignore. Everyone at the table knew immediately. To make things worse, Rosie also managed to spit up on what I later learned was a $15,000 antique Persian rug. Patricia's left eye twitched in a way I didn't even know was possible. That rug aged 10 years in 2 seconds. So did Patricia. Perhaps, Patricia said, her voice tight as a wire. You should handle that elsewhere, away from the dining room, the antiques, and everything. I excused myself and went to find a bathroom. The mansion had about 7,000 bathrooms, but of course, I chose the one Patricia had clearly claimed as her personal space. I didn't realize that until she followed me in. She waited until I was in the middle of changing Rosie, completely vulnerable, my hands full of baby and wipes, before she spoke. I know exactly what you're doing, Patricia said, closing the door behind her. I kept my voice calm. I'm changing a diaper. Don't play innocent with me, she said, stepping closer. I see women like you all the time. You find a successful man, trap him with a baby that probably isn't even his, and then live off him for the rest of your life. My blood was boiling, but I kept my hand steady. Rosie needed me calm. Rosie isn't Graham's baby, I said. She's mine from a previous relationship. Patricia scoffed. Even worse. You're bringing another man's child into my son's life. Baggage. That's what you are. Baggage with a diaper bag. I could have destroyed her right then. I could have told her exactly who I was, how much I made, how doctors begged for my work. I could have watched her face crumble as her assumptions were shattered, but I didn't. The test wasn't over, and Patricia was proving exactly why I needed to run it in the first place. Graham loves me, I said simply, and I love him. Patricia laughed. It wasn't a nice laugh. Graham is infatuated. He thinks he's rescuing you. It's a hero complex, nothing more. When the novelty wears off, he'll see you for what you really are. And what is that? I asked. She smiled, cold, sharp, temporary. Then she left me alone in that bathroom, my hand shaking with rage, Rosie looking up at me with innocent eyes. When I returned to the dining room, my phone buzzed. A text from my colleague at the lab. Emergency. Morrison case. $40,000 full-mouth reconstruction. Dr. Preston says only you can fix it. Triple overtime if you come in tonight. My heart sank. The Morrison case was huge. The kind of project that builds reputations. The kind of opportunity that doesn't come often. I texted back, can't tonight. Family thing. The reply was immediate. Bethany, this is a career-defining case. Are you sure? I looked at Graham across the table. I looked at Patricia's smug smile. I looked at Rosie in my arms. I'm sure, I typed, handle it without me. I was sacrificing my career for a test, and I still wasn't sure if it would be worth it. The rest of dinner passed in a blur of subtle insults and pointed silences. By the time we left, I was emotionally drained. Graham kept apologizing in the car. They just need time to warm up to you. Mom is protective. That's all. Protective, right? Patricia Whitmore wasn't protective. She was a guard dog with a designer handbag and a vendetta against anyone who threatened her vision of the perfect family. But I didn't say any of that. I just nodded, held Rosie, and wondered if I had made a terrible mistake. I almost ended it that night. Sitting in Graham's car outside my apartment building, Rosie asleep in her car seat, I came within inches of telling him everything. The truth about my job, my income, my elaborate test. I was exhausted from pretending and tired of being humiliated by people who thought they were better than me. But then Graham took my hand and said something that stopped me. I'm sorry about my family. They were awful tonight, and you didn't deserve any of that. But I need you to know something. He turned to face me, his eyes serious. They don't define me. Their opinions don't decide my future. You do. You and Rosie. It was the right thing to say. But I had heard the right thing from Bradley too, right up until he left. I just need time to process. I told him. Tonight was a lot. He nodded, kissed my forehead, and let me go. 2 days later, Graham's family threw a small gathering at the mansion. A casual get-together, he called it. I wasn't sure I wanted to go, but Graham was so hopeful I couldn't say no. The casual get-together was not casual at all. It was another production, another opportunity for Patricia to remind me of my place. But something unexpected happened that night. Something that changed everything. I was standing on the back patio, away from the crowd, watching the sunset and questioning all my life choices, when Nana June appeared beside me. She moved quietly for a woman her age, and she had a glass of whiskey in her hand that suggested she wasn't there for small talk. "Beautiful evening," she said. "It is," she said. "You're stronger than you look, you know." She took a sip of her whiskey. "I've been watching you. The way you handle Patricia's nonsense. The way you keep your composure when most women would have crumbled, it's impressive." I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. "You're not what they think you are, dear." Her eyes met mine, sharp and knowing. "I'm not sure what you are exactly, but it's not what they see." My heart hammered. Had she figured it out? "I'm exactly what I appear to be," I said carefully. "A single mom trying to do her best." She didn't sound convinced. "You know, 55 years ago, I was you, excuse me, the poor girl who dared to love a Whitmore." She smiled, but there was old pain in it. Randall's mother hated me with a passion that could power a small city. I wasn't good enough for her son. I was beneath their family. Sound familiar? I nodded slowly. Patricia had learned from her mother-in-law. Unfortunately, she'd been trying to destroy every woman Graham brought home for the past decade. 3 relationships. She held up 3 fingers. 3 good women, systematically torn down by Patricia's campaigns. 1 was a nurse. 1 was a teacher. 1 worked for a nonprofit. All of them, not good enough. What happened to them? They ran. They couldn't handle the pressure, the constant judgment, the feeling of never being welcome. Patricia wore them down until they broke. Nana June finished her whiskey. "Don't let her win, unless you don't have a fight in you." "I have fight," I said quietly. "Good." She patted my arm. "The real ones don't run. They dig in." She walked away, leaving me with more questions and answers. Did she know my secret? Did she just suspect something? Or was she simply recognizing a strength she once had herself? I didn't have time to figure it out. Raised voices from inside the house caught my attention. I moved closer to an open window and heard Graham arguing with Sloane. They didn't know I was listening. "You need to open your eyes," Sloane said. "She's using you. It's obvious. She has nothing, Graham. Nothing. And you're really going to hand her your whole life." "I love her," Graham said. His voice was firm, stronger than it had been at the dinner. "I don't care what she has or doesn't have. She's kind. She's real. She's an incredible mother. Those things matter more than money." "You sound like a greeting card." "And you sound like Mom, which should worry you, by the way." "I'm trying to protect you." "The only thing you're protecting is your inheritance," Graham shot back. "And newsflash, me getting married doesn't threaten that." "It does if she tries to take half of everything." "There's no everything. Sloane, I work at a car dealership. I'm not some millionaire she's trying to trap. Do you even hear yourself?" I backed away from the window, my heart pounding. He had defended me, really defended me. Not the weak mom is just protective excuse from dinner. This was real pushback, real loyalty. Maybe he really was different. But the universe apparently decided I hadn't been tested enough that night. As I made my way back inside, I heard Patricia's delighted voice near the front door. "Meredith, what a wonderful surprise. I had no idea you were in town." I froze. Meredith, Graham's ex-girlfriend, the one Patricia had loved, the one who was perfect for her son. I positioned myself so I could see the entrance. Without being obvious, Meredith Callahan was everything I was pretending not to be. Tall, polished, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent in my struggling single mom life. Her hair was salon perfect. Her smile was practiced and radiant. She walked in like she was on a runway in Milan. I walked in like I was on a budget in Target. "Clearance section. Final markdown." "Graham," Patricia called out. Look who stopped by. Meredith was just in the neighborhood. Right. In a neighborhood where every house costs at least $2 million and nobody just stops by without an invitation. Graham came out from the back of the house. I watched his face carefully. He looked uncomfortable, caught off guard, but he didn't immediately retreat from Meredith. Patricia orchestrated the reunion like a Broadway director. She positioned them next to each other. She made loud comments about how wonderful it was to see Meredith again, how she had always been like family, how some connections just never fade. Sloane appeared with her phone, clearly planning to document the reunion for maximum drama. Meredith was gracious on the surface, but her eyes had a predatory gleam when they swept over me. She knew exactly who I was. She knew exactly why Patricia had invited her. "You must be Bethany," she said, extending a perfectly manicured hand. "I've heard so much about you. Good things. I hope so," I said, matching her pleasant tone. "Oh, interesting things." Her smile sharpened. "Patricia tells me you have a baby. How brave of you. Dating with children is so challenging." "We manage," I said calmly. "I'm sure you do," she replied, cool and calculating. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Another text from work, this time with photos from the regional dental conference. I was supposed to attend a regional dental conference. Everyone at work was asking where I was. Dr. Preston had even told the whole room, "You're the most talented prosthetist in the state. People are actually disappointed you're not here. You're famous, and you don't even know it." I shoved my phone back in my pocket. I couldn't enjoy my professional triumph while hiding in a corner, watching my boyfriend's ex circle like a designer-clad shark. Eventually, Graham managed to escape the Meredith situation and found me near the garden doors. He took my hand, and this time his grip was firm. "I'm choosing you," he said. "Not Meredith. Not my mother's approval. You and Rosie. I need you to know that." I looked into his eyes, searching for a lie, for hesitation, for the Bradley hiding underneath. I didn't find it, but I also didn't fully trust what I saw. Words are easy. Actions take time. "I believe you're trying," I said carefully, "but your family makes things complicated." "They'll come around," he said confidently. I almost laughed. Patricia Whitmore would never come around. She'd die on the hill of her own snobbery before accepting me. But Nana June's words echoed in my mind. The real ones don't run. They dig in. I wasn't ready to run. Not yet. But I also wasn't ready to reveal my secrets. Let's see how much pressure this relationship could take before it cracked. Before we left, Nana June found me again. She pressed a piece of paper into my hand. "My phone number," she said, "in case you ever need an ally in this family." I must have looked surprised, because she laughed. "Patricia has been insufferable since 1987. Don't take it personally. She's insufferable to everyone equally. Very democratic about it." For the first time that night, I genuinely smiled. Maybe I did have an ally, an unexpected one, in this family, the last place I would have looked. As Graham drove me home, my mind was racing. The test wasn't over. If anything, it was just beginning. Patricia would escalate. Meredith would circle. Sloane would scheme. But Graham had defended me. Nana June had reached out, and I had more fight left in me than any of them realized. The question was, when the real truth came out, would any of it matter? A week passed after the party. A week of Graham being extra attentive, extra apologetic, extra everything. He brought me flowers. He brought Rosie a stuffed elephant she immediately tried to eat. He took us to the park, to dinner, to anywhere that wasn't his family's mansion. He was trying so hard, and I was running out of reasons to doubt him. But I needed one more test, one final push to see what he was really made of. If Graham could handle me at my absolute lowest, not just poor, but desperate, then I would know for certain. I would tell him everything, and would build something real together. If he couldn't, well, better to find out now than after I'd given him my whole heart. So I created a crisis. We were sitting on my couch, Rosie playing on a blanket between us, when I took a deep breath and started the performance of my life. "Graham, I need to tell you something." I made my voice shake. Not hard to do when you're about to test a man you love. "I'm in trouble." His face immediately shifted to concern. What kind of trouble? Financial trouble. Rose's dad. He stopped sending money completely. He blocked my number. I tried calling from a different phone, and he hung up. I let my eyes fill with tears. Real tears, actually, because the stress of this whole situation was starting to get to me. I don't know how I'm going to make rent next month. I've been doing the math over and over, and it just doesn't work. Graham didn't hesitate, not even for a second. Move in with me. I blinked. What? Move in with me. Both of you. Tomorrow, if you want. He grabbed my hands. I have a 2-bedroom apartment. Rosie can have her own room. You won't have to worry about rent anymore. I'll take care of everything. Graham, that's a huge step. We've only been together 8 months. 8 months is long enough to know. His eyes were intense. Sincere. I love you, Bethany. I love Rosie. I don't care about timelines or what's appropriate. You need help, and I want to help. It's that simple. I stared at him, searching for the catch, the hesitation, the tiny flicker of doubt that would tell me he was just saying what he thought he should say. I didn't find it. Are you sure? I pressed. Your family would hate it. Your mother would have a stroke. Graham actually laughed. My mother has a stroke every time I don't do exactly what she wants. She'll survive. And honestly, this isn't about her. This is about us. You, me, and Rosie. That's my family now. My heart cracked open a little. This was exactly what I'd been hoping to hear. But hope is a dangerous thing when you've been burned before. Let me think about it, I said. It's a big decision. Take all the time you need, he said. But know that the offer stands. Today, tomorrow, next month, whenever you're ready. He kissed my forehead and held me close. And I felt like the worst person in the world for testing him like this. But I wasn't done yet. 2 days later, Graham called me with news. My mom wants to have a family meeting tomorrow night. Okay, what time should I be there? Silence. Graham. She didn't invite you. His voice was tight with anger. I told her that was unacceptable, but she insisted it was family only. I'm sorry, Beth. I tried. It's fine, I said. It wasn't fine, but it was expected. Go see what she wants. I added. You can tell me everything after. What Graham didn't know was that I already had an inside source. Nana June called me that afternoon. Patricia is planning an ambush, she said without any greeting. She's been making calls all week, gathering ammunition. For what? I asked. I think she's going to give Graham an ultimatum. My stomach tightened. What kind of ultimatum? You or the family, Nana June said. That's Patricia's favorite weapon. She's used it before. My stomach dropped. What should I do? Nothing. Not yet, Nana June said calmly. Let her show her cards. Then she added, and don't worry, I'll be there recording everything. Recording? Dear, I've been documenting Patricia's nonsense for years. I have an entire folder on my phone. I call it the Patricia Files. Very organized. Excellent audio quality. I laughed despite myself. Nana June, you're unbelievable. I'm a survivor, she said. Now go take care of that baby and let me handle reconnaissance. The family meeting happened the next evening. I sat in my apartment pretending to watch television, but really, I was staring at my phone, waiting. At 9:47 p.m., Nana June sent me a video file. The message said only one thing. You need to see this. I pressed play. The video was a little shaky, but clear enough. Patricia stood at the head of the dining table. Graham and Sloane were seated. Randall sat silently, as usual. Nana June must have propped her phone somewhere because the angle stayed steady. Patricia's voice filled my apartment. This has gone far enough, Graham. I've held my tongue because I wanted to give you space to make your own decisions. She leaned forward. But this woman is dragging you down. Graham's voice was tense. Her name is Bethany. Fine. Bethany. She's a nobody, Graham. A part-time paper pusher with a baby that isn't even yours. Do you understand what people are saying? Do you understand how this looks? I don't care how it looks, Graham said firmly. Well, You should. Patricia's voice rose. You're a Whitmore. That name means something in this community, and you're throwing it away on a woman who can't even afford to dress properly. Sloane jumped in. Honestly, Graham, she's embarrassing. Did you see her at dinner? She looked like she got her outfit from a donation bin, and the baby spit up on the Tracy rug. Do you know how much that rug cost? More than your contribution to this family in the last 5 years, I'm guessing. Graham shot back, his jaw tight. Don't be cruel. Patricia snapped. We're trying to help you see clearly. No, Graham said, voice rising. You're trying to control me like you always do, like you did with Sarah and Michelle and Rebecca. My ears perked up. The 3 women Nana June had mentioned, the ones Patricia had destroyed. Patricia leaned forward, calm and smooth. Those women weren't right for you, and neither is this one, but I'm willing to make you a deal. I don't want your deals, Graham said. Patricia ignored him, voice turning cold and calculating. If you're so attached to the child, fine. Keep her. Get custody. We'll help you raise her properly, but lose a mother. She's dead weight. Graham, the baby can be saved. The woman cannot. My blood ran cold. They actually thought they could take Rosie from me. They thought they could separate us and raise her as their own. The video showed Graham standing up so abruptly his chair scraped the floor. Stop. Just stop. His voice shook with anger. Do you hear yourselves? You're talking about a human being. A woman I love. A mother who would do anything for her daughter. And you want to do what? Steal her child? Raise Rosie in this house, with his family, surrounded by people who see her as a project instead of a person. We're trying to help, Patricia said sharply. No, Graham replied. You're trying to control me. That's all you've ever done. And I'm done letting you. Patricia's face on the video was frozen with fury. If you choose her, Graham, you're choosing to walk away from this family. Then I guess I'm walking. Silence followed. Heavy, final. And then, for the first time in the entire recording, Randall spoke. The boys made his choice. His voice was calm, measured, certain. It's a good one. Respect it, Patricia. Patricia turned to him, stunned. Randall, I said respect it. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. This conversation is over. The video ended. I sat alone in my apartment, tears streaming down my face, my phone clenched in my hands. Graham had passed the test. He defended me when I wasn't there to hear it. He chose me over his family's approval, over his inheritance, over everything. And Randall, quiet, observant Randall, had stood up for him, for us. I called Nana June immediately. I saw it. I said, my voice breaking. I saw everything. He's a good man, Bethany, she replied gently. Whatever you're hiding, I think he can handle it. I froze. What do you mean, hiding? She chuckled softly. Dear, I'm 78 years old. I've seen more lies than a courtroom judge. You're not who you claim to be. My heart raced. I don't know the details, she continued, and frankly, I don't need them. But whatever your secret is, Graham deserves to hear it from you before it comes out some other way. She was right, completely right. The test was over. Graham had passed every challenge I put in front of him. He loved me when I appeared to have nothing. He defended me when I wasn't in the room. He offered me his home, his life, his future. Now it was my turn to stop pretending, to stop hiding, to tell him the truth. Because the next decision would decide everything, to be brave. But first, another crisis exploded into my life. Tiffany called at 11 p.m., completely hysterical. Beth, my parents are flying in next week. They are talking to lawyers. They think I'm an unfit mother, and they want custody of Rosie. Slow down, I said calmly. Tell me exactly what happened. My mom found out I've been letting you take care of Rosie most of the time. She thinks I abandoned her. She's threatening to sue for custody. She says she'll prove I'm negligent. I rubbed my temples. The borrowed baby situation was unraveling at the worst possible moment. What do you want to do, Tiffany? I asked gently. There was a long pause. Then, barely above a whisper, "I don't know if I can fight them, Beth. I don't even know if I should." "What do you mean?" "Maybe they're right." Her voice cracked. "Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Rosie is happier with you than she ever was with me. She cries when I hold her now because she's not used to me anymore. What kind of mother am I if my own baby doesn't even recognize me?" My heart ached for her. For all her flaws, Tiffany was trying. She was just lost. "We don't have to decide anything tonight," I said softly. "Let's meet tomorrow and talk through every option. Whatever you decide, I'll support you." "Thank you," she whispered. "You're literally the only person who doesn't judge me." After the call ended, I sat alone in the dark for a long time. Rosie slept peacefully in the next room, completely unaware that multiple adults were quietly fighting over her future. In my family, a meeting meant someone had eaten the last piece of pie and we needed to identify the criminal. Maybe assign blame. Maybe demand they buy replacement pie. Very serious business. In the Whitmore family, a meeting meant deciding whether I deserved to exist in their orbit at all. The stakes were different. Higher. Crueler. And tomorrow, the stakes would shift again. Because tomorrow, I was going to tell Graham the truth. All of it. No more tests. No more pretending. No more hiding behind poverty, secrecy, or fear. Tomorrow, I would finally stop performing and find out whether love could survive the truth that I had no idea if our relationship would survive. If this story has your heart racing right now, please take just 1 second to hit the like button. It really helps this channel grow, and I'm truly grateful for every single one of you. Now, let me tell you what happened next. Graham asked me to meet him at the coffee shop where we first met. The same small cafe where Rosie had knocked a cup out of my hand, and Graham had laughed instead of getting annoyed. The place where everything began. I knew something was coming. Graham's voice on the phone had been nervous but excited, the way it gets when it's planning something big. I had my own truth to tell that day, but I wanted to let him speak first. I arrived early, Rosie on my hip, and sat at a quiet table in the corner. The barista recognized me and waved. I'd been a regular there for 8 months, always playing the role of the struggling single mom, always carefully counting coins, even though my bank account had more than enough. Graham walked in looking like he hadn't slept, but it was a good kind of exhaustion. Not stress, anticipation. He sat across from me, took a deep breath, and reached into his jacket pocket. "I was going to do this at dinner with my family," he said. "Before everything went wrong. I had it all planned. The ring, the speech, the perfect moment." He shook his head and smiled softly. "But I realize I don't need any of that. I don't need their approval. I don't need a fancy restaurant or the perfect setting." He pulled out a small velvet box. My heart stopped. "Graham, let me finish," he said gently. He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant, a modest diamond that caught the light. Not flashy, not over the top, just beautiful. "Bethany," he said, his voice steady, "I don't care if we have nothing. I don't care what my family thinks. I don't care about money, status, or expectations." He looked at Rosie, then back at me. "I care about you. I care about her. I care about the life we're building together." He swallowed. "Will you marry me?" And in that moment, I knew this was it. No more tests. No more hiding. It was time to tell him the truth. "For 3 years," I said, my voice shaking but steady enough to keep going. "I loved him. I trusted him. And when he found out how much money I made, everything changed." Graham didn't interrupt. He just listened. He started calling it our money before we were even married. He quit his job, made jokes about retiring early, started making plans that didn't include asking me. I swallowed. When I confronted him, he didn't deny it. He said I was lucky to have him, that men don't like women who earn more than them unless they get something out of it. Graham's jaw tightened. He left when I refused to fund his lifestyle. He told me I was cold, selfish, and unlovable, and I believed him. I looked down at Rosie. So when I started dating again, I got scared. I didn't want another man who loved my paycheck more than me. I wanted to know who would stay when there was nothing to gain. I took a shaky breath. So I lied. I dressed down. I pretended to struggle. I told myself it was a test, that if someone loved me like that, I'd tell the truth eventually. I finally met his eyes, and then I met you. The cafe was silent except for the low hum of conversation around us. And Rosie? Graham asked quietly. She's not mine, I said. She's my best friend Tiffany's daughter. Tiffany's been struggling, and I've been helping take care of her. I never meant for it to go this far. I never meant to lie to you about her either. Graham ran a hand through his hair. So, the baby, the money, the job, all of it was a lie, I said softly. But my feelings weren't. Not once. I love you. That part was always real. He looked at the ring in his hand, then back at me. You tested me, he said. Not angry, just stunned. Yes. And my family. I let them humiliate me because I needed to know who you were when I wasn't in the room. He was quiet for a long moment. I defended you, he said slowly. I know, I whispered. And that's why this hurt so much. He exhaled, long and heavy. You should have trusted me. I know. Tears spilled again. And if you walk away right now, I'll understand. Rosie reached out and grabbed his finger. He looked down at her, then back at me. You lied, he said. But you didn't use me. You didn't take anything from me. You never asked for money. You never pressured me. I nodded. You wanted to know if I'd stay, he said. Yes. He closed the ring box slowly. I won't pretend this doesn't hurt, he said honestly. But I also won't pretend it erases everything we built. My heart pounded. You're flawed, he continued. So am I. But you're brave. You protected yourself the only way you knew how. He paused. Next time, don't test me, he said gently. Just talk to me. I nodded through tears. He dropped back down on one knee. Gasps rippled through the cafe. I'm not asking because you're rich, he said. I'm not asking because you're impressive. He smiled softly. I'm asking because I love you. He opened the ring box again. So I'll ask one more time. Bethany Burton, will you marry me? This time, I smiled through tears. Yes, I said. Yes. 1,000 times yes. The cafe erupted into applause. Friends, insisting she'd been deceived by a gold digger who had trapped her son. What she didn't realize was that those same circles overlapped with mine. Within 48 hours, the truth corrected itself, quietly, efficiently, and far more brutally than any argument ever could. A former patient mentioned me at a charity luncheon. A professor from my dental program ran into one of Patricia's friends at a fundraiser and congratulated her on her future daughter-in-law. Someone else Googled my name. Then another. Then another. By the time Patricia attempted damage control, the narrative had already locked into place. I wasn't a struggling single mother who had clawed her way into wealth. I was a top-ranking dental prosthodontics resident with published research, a pending private practice, and a scholarship record that spoke for itself. The baby wasn't a trap. Rosie was my heart, planned, loved, and supported long before Graham ever entered the picture. And Graham? He hadn't been manipulated. He'd chosen. The calls to him changed tone quickly. Concern turned into awkward congratulations. Outrage softened into careful neutrality. And eventually, silence. Patricia didn't reach out for 3 weeks. When she finally did, it wasn't an apology. It was an invitation to lunch, neutral territory, just the two of us. Graham asked what I wanted to do. I thought about the woman who had looked at me and seen only weakness, about the months I had spent proving nothing, because love doesn't require evidence, about the freedom I felt when that coffee shop door closed behind us. I don't need lunch, I said gently. I already said everything that mattered. Our wedding was small, intentional, full of laughter and people who loved us without conditions. Patricia sent a gift, expensive, impersonal, and carefully unsigned. We donated it. 4 months later, I walked across the stage and became Dr. Bethany Whitmore. 8 months after that, my practice opened. A year later, Rosie called Graham Daddy for the first time. And sometimes, late at night, when the clinic is quiet and Graham is asleep with Rosie curled against his chest, I think about the test I once gave a man I loved. He didn't just pass it. He rewrote the rules entirely. Status on social media, something cryptic about people not being what they seem, clearly meant to stir gossip. But by then, the narrative had already solidified. Every post Sloane made was met with comments pointing out the real story. Bethany was brilliant, successful, and kind, a woman who had only proven her love and integrity. Even Patricia's private calls didn't have the impact she'd hoped for. Nana June, ever vigilant, had preemptively reached everyone important. By the end of the week, the Whitmore circle and the wider social web Patricia had relied on had quietly shifted in my favor. Her attempt to control perception had failed spectacularly. Meanwhile, Graham's pride in me only grew. He saw the strength, patience, and courage I had shown, and he never doubted his choice again. Our life moved forward, rich with laughter, trust, and partnership, not appearances, not tests, just us. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I smiled thinking about Patricia, trapped in her own social cage, realizing that trying to dictate love and judge work could backfire in ways no one could predict. Bethany. The word landed softly, but it carried weight. Real weight. Not obligation or judgment. Acceptance. Thank you, I said, and I meant it more than he probably realized. Randall nodded once, clearly relieved that the hardest part was over. He glanced toward the bedroom where Graham was assembling a crib with far more confidence than skill. A faint smile tugged at his mouth. "He's going to be a good husband," Randall said, "and a good father, whatever that looks like." "He already is," I replied. Randall left a few minutes later, shoulders lighter than when he'd arrived. It struck me then how many people had lived their lives quietly bending around Patricia's sharp edges, mistaking endurance for peace. Graham hadn't inherited that habit. Thank God, the wedding planning began almost immediately and predictably without Patricia. Nana June took control with military precision and mischievous delight. "If Patricia wants an invitation," she announced over speakerphone, "she can earn it by learning some manners before June. Otherwise, we'll save the stamp." Patricia did try. Once, she sent a text to Graham. Not an apology. Patricia didn't apologize, but a carefully worded message about moving forward and family unity. Graham read it, sighed, and replied with one sentence, "Bethany deserves respect." That's not negotiable. There was no response. And that was fine, because life, finally, was simple. 4 months later, I graduated. Graham was in the front row, Rosie asleep against his chest, Nana June crying loudly enough to disrupt the ceremony twice. When my name was called, Dr. Bethany Whitmore, DMD, Graham stood, clapped, and didn't stop until everyone around him joined in. That night, as we sat on the couch, exhausted and happy, Graham kissed my temple and said, "You know, you never had to pretend to be small." "I know," I said, "but I needed to know you wouldn't need me to be." He smiled. "I don't." And that was the truth. I hadn't tested a man and won a prize. I had protected a wounded part of myself and found someone patient enough, kind enough, strong enough to meet me on the other side. Patricia lost control. Sloane lost relevance. And I gained a family that chose me. Not because of what I had, not because of what I gave up, but because of who I was. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I had to prove that to anyone. Finished by smacking my cheek with a drooly kiss, completely unconcerned with the fact that she was breaking my heart. I cried after they left. Not the dramatic, falling apart kind, just a quiet kind that slips out when a chapter closes before you're ready. Graham held me and didn't try to fix it. He just let it hurt, which somehow made it easy to bear. "You did the right thing," he said softly. "I know," I replied. "That doesn't make it easy." Nothing changed between us after that, except everything did. Our life slowed into something real. No secrets, no performances, just honesty, morning coffee, wedding plans scribbled on sticky notes, me studying for finals while Graham quizzed me with flashcards he didn't fully understand but took very seriously. Patricia stayed silent, and in that silence, something unexpected happened. Peace. No tension before family dinners. No waiting for the next cool comment. Nana June, however, was everywhere. She announced our engagement at church, at brunch, and once to a cashier who had absolutely not asked. She introduced me proudly as my future granddaughter-in-law, the dentist who could buy this whole block if she wanted to. I corrected her exactly 0 times. On our wedding day, the coffee shop owner catered the reception. Same cafe, same corner table. The barista cried when she saw us. Someone joked that the place should be declared a historical landmark. Graham took my hands and said, "I choose you, fully, exactly as you are." And for the first time in my life, I believed someone when they said it. Sometimes love doesn't come loudly. Sometimes it arrives quietly, sits with you through the truth, and stays anyway. And that, more than the ring, the proposal, or the victory over Patricia, was everything. "Then you'll fit right in," I said, smiling for the first time that evening without effort. He laughed, the sound warm and grounding. "Loud I can do." We eventually stood, turning off the nursery light before closing the door. It didn't feel like goodbye forever anymore. Just not yet. And that made all the difference. Telling my family went exactly as predicted. Aunt Linda cried before I finished the sentence. My mother cried after pretending she wouldn't. My cousins demanded photos of the ring. Then Graham. Then the ring again, just to be sure. There were hugs, teasing, questions about dates and venues, and whether Graham could handle how competitive my family got during board games. He handled it beautifully. The weeks passed quickly after that. Finals loomed. Wedding planning started in the loosest, least stressful way possible, mostly Nana June sending unsolicited suggestions and Graham pretending not to be terrified of floral arrangements. Patricia remained distant, but no longer hostile. It was clear boundaries had been drawn, and for once, they held. The day I graduated, Graham sat in the front row, clapping harder than anyone when my name was called. When they announced Dr. Bethany Burton, something inside me finally settled into place. Not because of the title, but because I wasn't hiding anymore. Not from him. Not from myself. 4 months later, I unlocked the door to my own small practice for the first time. 1 chair, 1 assistant, a sign with my name on it. Graham brought coffee and stood in the doorway, watching me take it all in. "Told you," he said softly. I smiled. "You did." That night, as we lay in bed, wedding plans half finished and futures wide open, I realized something important. The test hadn't proven that Graham was good enough for me. It proved that love, real love, doesn't shrink when faced with truth. It grows. And this time, I wasn't afraid to let it. Sounds perfect. And it was. It truly was. There's a saying I've heard my whole life. The people who love you when you have nothing are the only ones who deserve you when you have everything. I used to think it was just a pretty line for greeting cards. Nice, but unrealistic. Now I know it's the truest thing I've ever learned. I spent 8 months pretending to have nothing, waiting for Graham to reveal himself as another disappointment. Instead, he showed me exactly who he was, patient, loyal, and brave enough to choose love over legacy. And Patricia? She's still Patricia. Still obsessed with appearances. Still judging anyone who doesn't fit her narrow idea of worth. But she doesn't control our lives anymore. Her opinions are just background noise now, static in a life filled with things that actually matter. Some people never grow, and that's no longer my burden to carry. I have a man who loves me, a career I'm proud of, and a future full of possibility. So if you've ever been made to feel like your success is something you should hide, remember this. Never shrink yourself to make others comfortable. The right people will celebrate you at full size. And the wrong people were never worth your time. Thank you so much for watching. More of my most powerful stories are already on your screen. Click one now. You won't regret it. See you in the next one. Red Hot Hash.